I would like to open the meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission, regular meeting, May 14th, 2014, 5:31 p.m. Martha, will you please do the roll call?
I'm actually going to be doing the roll call today.
Oh,
So, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to always do it now?
I can. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We decided
Let's trade it up. You flip coins.
Switch here and there. Commissioner Palacios?
Here.
Commissioner Spray?
Present.
Commissioner Lukes?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All righty. Now, which one of you are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Have you decided that?
I'll do it simultaneously. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is number 4, approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes that they want to make to that?
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve the agenda as written,
A second.
and we have a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Approval of minutes of April 9th, 2014. Consideration and possible approval of the minutes from that date.
I'm in the meeting. Can I call you later? Call me back. Okay, call me. Bye. That was my grandson calling. I had to take that, okay?
It's perfectly fine. It's a family affair.
That's fine.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as
Second.
presented.
Okay, motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Citizens Forum, item number 6. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak at this time?
I'm just a silent observer, not here to speak.
You aren't?
No.
Well, how are you?
I'm great. How are you all?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you here.
Can you get somebody from the street to come and talk to us, please? We're so lonely.
Please talk to us.
Somebody.
All right, well, I'm glad you're here very seriously. Very glad you're here, David. Nice to see you. All right, seeing that no other citizens are in the chairs in the audience wishing to speak, let's move on to item number 7, matters from staff. 7A, update on certified local government grant applications.
Okay, so last meeting, I discussed the fact that the SHPO would possibly be coming back up with re-advertisement for grant money, and they did. We're going to be proposing 2 separate grants to them. The first grant that we're going to do is going to be a walking map tour of the contributing buildings in the historic district. We're looking at doing some large maps, possibly like 33 by 44, so kind of like our large zoning maps. 3 to 5 of those so that we can have those in the town hall, maybe in a couple of different areas around town. And then the smaller fold-up maps, I was thinking roughly 1,000 of those. So that's going to be the first sub-grant that we're going to apply for. The second one, from what I've heard from everybody, there's some talks that we want to do an expansion of our historic overlay zone. And so to do that, we're going to start with a resurvey of our contributing buildings and move that outwards. We're going to need to talk to the property owners of buildings that we want to make contributing buildings and see if they would be interested in that process. And then from there, decide on the boundary and expand our boundaries. And so those are the 2 sub-grants that we are going to be applying for the fiscal year of 2014-2015. So is there any questions or any?
For both of those, one as the Arts and Culture District Director and the other as Chair of Historic Preservation, I will probably be sending letters of support for those grants, so I want you guys both to know that I would be doing that from this commission. Does anyone have a problem with that? No? Okay.
So would that take into account buildings that are in the town, but wouldn't necessarily be you know, buildings that we consider significant or contributing in the town, but not necessarily in the zone.
I think we can get those resurveyed, and I think we can work on getting those listed as contributing properties, and then making changes to our code in the future that would possibly allow this commission to have say over those contributing properties that are not in an HOZ. But for this specific subgrant, I don't think we're going to do more than just resurvey some contributing buildings and just expand the HOZ in a small amount. But if there's a contributing building that's a pretty lengthy distance from the existing HOZ, we just might want to make code changes to have the commission have some say over what happens with those properties. So that would be a little bit different than, am I making sense?
Are you thinking also about expanding the boundaries of?
I've
historical
heard some
district?
discussion, and that's something that as we go further, I don't know if we want to necessarily expand. We are gonna need buy-in from all the community members as well, if they actually want to be in an expansion. So that's something that might not happen depending on what the community, how they feel. But if people want to be part of it, and then the expansion allows for a lot of grants when it comes, or tax benefits and some grants available to those property owners. So that might be something they might be interested in.
I'm sure you would already do this, but I wanted to say you should probably look at the Taos Cultural Plan and look at the Arts and Culture District boundaries, because there's a core area and then there's a much bigger area that the last council voted to approve. And those people in that district do have double historic tax credits.
Right.
So you might want to enlarge or make the HOZ, make them the same boundary to make it easier for people, something like that. You might want to just look at that document if you haven't already.
And then I did ask Amy to talk to the State Historic Preservation Office about our code changes, because that was the other thing that we are considering to apply for. When you start looking at all the indentations and whatnot, like for a new building, not only is there the tutorial and the Spanish, Spanish Revival, but there's also bungalow.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not seen that when I first read through the code. And then a lot of the colors and all that is at the very, very back. So if you're new to that code, you're missing a lot of this detail, because it's not, the way it's organized, it's really hard to read. There's so many indentations and you get lost as to what section you're in. So I was talking to Amy about making some changes to the code and whether or not, how was the approval process supposed to work. So the State Preservation Office says as long as the Historic Preservation Commission has approved, you know, the potential changes, then they'll do their review, and then we take it on to planning and zoning and to the council.
Oh, we actually don't have to go to planning and zoning, we just go straight to council.
Okay.
So is that part of the workshop that we were going to have a month or two ago to revisit those
Last month.
Mm-hmm.
last month? So do we need to reschedule that?
Yes, at the next council meeting, it's my understanding that they are going to be appointing the commissions
Okay.
and boards. So I was actually waiting until we got staffed up.
Okay.
So you're basically speaking of reformatting the historic code so that it would be capsulized. I mean, you know, like there would be a color section, it'd be part of the index to reformat it so that those things are inclusive and not at the back.
Right, like the wood doors being at the back and the colors being at the back. I mean, the colors are very vague too. It says no pastel or fluorescent colors. Whatever that means.
That means no pastel or fluorescent colors.
But how do you define pastel?
Well, in the color chart, they're kind of, I know it sounds general, but if you know a lot about color, there's certain colors that are pastel colors, and then there's deeper tones that aren't. Some people know that. art people know that.
Our people may know that,
Yes.
but the regular
Hard.
applicant, I think we need to translate
Right.
a little bit more.
Right.
Because what they see in existing buildings is like soft, pinks, peaches,
That's true.
and so
Yeah.
to them, that's pastel.
Right.
So
Well, that
I
would-
think we need to be a little bit more definitive. We have colors that we show people when they come into the office. But that's one of the areas that I think the code is extremely weak in.
I think they also, somewhere it said no metallic colors, because
It does say it after that, so
Right.
that part, I think, reads fine, but it's
Right.
just that it's buried, like Oscar's saying, we somehow need to categorize. Okay, this section's talking about colors, this section's talking about doors, like we hadn't seen that you are required to have wood garage doors. And that will get lost. So somehow we need to get it so that the code's easy to read, and then from that, we can create an application for the applicant, and then we can do our staff reports so that they're easy to read, rather than wading through all this text.
Right. I'd also like to see if at that time we could weave some of that work that we did that Marika found for us,
Right,
weave some of
right.
that in.
No,
and then
that's the
get it
intent.
Cleaned up, yeah.
It's just that looking at what Marika had, based on what you guys worked on before, and what actually got adopted, the paragraphs got moved around so much. I was trying to actually do track changes to show all the changes. And I went bananas because they took big blocks of text and moved them around. And so there was no way to show you what happened.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll make it a nice long session with food or something. Because it's very detail oriented. And a former planning director was doing all those changes, and he wasn't very good at that. Wasn't something he was really very good at. Anyway, okay, so that sounds good. Anyone have any more questions or discussion about that topic with Martha or Amy? Nope. Good to go. Let's go to 7B, please. Signs within the historic overlay zone.
So we had talked about this a little bit. We had pretty much discussed what we want and what we don't want as far as signs in the historic overlay zone. So my thought is, though, that we really need to talk with the businesses, and we haven't done that. So we had tentatively talked about going to 10 and maybe going around and talking to the Plaza businesses. And again, we need to get staffed up as a commission, but I was thinking that that's the next step as far as getting the sign changes adopted, is we need to get the buy-in from the constituents that are going to be affected.
10 might be opening a Pandora's box. That's a whole different kind. A lot of those people aren't merchants downtown,
Okay,
and it's a different configuration of the group. If I were you, I would hold a meeting for the merchants about that, or rather than going around talking to every single one of them.
Well, I was wondering if
Unless
I
you
could
want
get your
to.
assistance with that,
My assistance with which?
with getting the merchants together.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
no
actually
problem.
soliciting your input, so I appreciate.
Yeah, no, there's no problem. In fact,
Okay.
This is probably too much for one meeting, but in a week or two, we're going to have a large merchant meeting about the increased events downtown on the plaza. And I think you heard someone at Citizens Forum last night
Right.
speaking against some
Right.
things that are going to be happening. So we're going to hold a meeting with them for that, and that might be a little rambunctious. We might want to separate this into two meetings, because they probably are not going to be that happy at the meeting, the first one we're having. But this one, if it's just about getting everyone clear on what the codes are and what the rules are, that sounds pretty innocuous. I think it'll be easy to have that. The merchants typically meet on the first and third Friday of every month. The meeting that we're having about the extra downtown events is going to be in the evening. But any first and third Friday, the merchants are used to coming together in the morning at 8:45 to 10, if we call a meeting for the Downtown Merchants Association.
Okay.
So once you think you're ready to present, we'll just give them a couple weeks' notice and say what the agenda is. We've got the email, there's an email list of all the historic district merchants.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
So will you have an outline for them, or is
Yes.
this just soliciting, some topics to discuss that are on the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, everything, as summer's come and I've been walking around with different designers on the plaza and landscape architects and stuff and trying to think of things that we can do continually, those racks outside Taos Mountain Candles and also the quilt shop. They're so tacky looking. I mean, I was thinking maybe what we could offer them is to say one day in the summer, everybody can do a sidewalk sale, like one big sidewalk sale if you want to do that one day in the summer, and then everyone puts stuff outside and it's kind of a festive atmosphere. But that everyday thing with those clothes hanging on those racks, it's just really not very inviting, I don't think.
I agree, and I actually found in the code where it's allowed.
I know, well, you can have up to 7 items outside your business is what I thought it said.
Yeah, I thought that too, and then I found another section.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we need to make that code change too, along
We
with the
definitely
signs.
need to, because that's
Yes.
just, I've tried to explain to the merchants that if you have a really bad window display or never change it, or you put all that stuff outside, you're really hurting everybody's business, because it gives a flavor that we don't want anymore. So it'll be,
Right. we're
it'll be
higher-
okay. I mean, we just need everybody to get on the program, and I think we can do it with the right attitude at the meeting. That's why I think we should separate it out from the meeting
agree.
about all the shocking more people on the plaza, shocking the merchants. All right, so that sounds good, and just you let me know which of any month, the first or third Friday
Okay.
in the morning, they're used to that. Do you have all the changes to the sign and sidewalk sale regulations in your mind already, or do you need to go over those more with us?
I think that we have brought them to you in pieces.
Right,
And so I think we have very clear direction. It's just putting it together in a presentation format.
okay.
Yeah. And then we need to get their input,
Mhm.
so that we get their buy-in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, don't count on 100% with merchants, but if you get,
No, I know,
Yeah.
but as long as we've heard them, they're
Got it.
more willing to accept it.
got it.
And
After
then,
26 years working with the same people? Got it.
and then I also called Tuesday morning. It's Xeon Signs that put that sign up. And so they are amenable to working with us as far as maybe making some changes to that sign.
Like
So-
lighting it from the outside from those lamps?
Yes, I need to talk to them. They didn't remember the lighting from the outside. So I need to actually take pictures and show it to them, and then show them what they submitted. And so then we'll talk and figure out if there's something else that we can do with that.
Good, I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's horrific. It's so many people mention it to me, and then I went and looked, and there are actual bulbs inside the signs, which means it's backlit in my mind.
Yeah, well, it is. Each letter is backlit.
Right. And
Yes.
they do have really kind of pretty lamps that are hanging over that, it might not be as bright as all the rest of their stores, but that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, no, it's
Probably.
interesting. So yes, they are willing to work with us on
Good,
it.
that's
Yes.
really cool. Glad to hear it. All right, any other matters from staff? Do you need more input on any of, do you have anything more to say, to add? Do you? You guys got your tongue tonight, or you just want to go home? Is there a hockey game on or something? Okay.
Now that you ask, no.
All right, number 8, matters from Historic Preservation Commission. A, Jake Break Ordinance.
So this was a request of Commissioner Luke's, and we actually took this to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they gave staff direction to actually write a code change and take it forward to them. Because we had kind of brushed on this in our last meeting, and so Pavel followed up immediately thereafter.
Good.
So anyway,
Great.
that's just sort of another update.
Great.
Have you discussed it with any council members by chance? Just to feel
No,
them out? Okay.
no.
Yeah, I hope that this will have a chance to pass this time.
I think it might.
Yeah, I think it might.
And I brought up at the P and Z, just as a sideline, boomboxes, the prohibition of boomboxes in town.
Do you mean after 10 o'clock or any time, or just follow?
Anytime, I mean, it's so obnoxious that you might be, we might be sitting here and we'll hear a boombox from Paseo, and, boom, I mean, it vibrates your liver.
Well,
It's
so they're just
so
not-
obnoxious. I mean, people can have boomboxes, but they can listen to it in the privacy of as long as they contain the sound within their car, and not pollute the rest of the neighborhood and people around and
Last
sitting
time-
outside in restaurants and.
Last time this came up, what we realized was that the police weren't enforcing the noise ordinance.
Well, they need to have some training, is our understanding, and I guess they have to go
With the
to.
take break too, they would need specific training to be able to know how to witness it. I guess I'm explaining it really
That's
badly.
easy. I mean, you hear a jailbreak, it's a jailbreak.
Right,
And boombox, the same thing.
it's just catching them in the act, and then
And shoot,
probably
like I said,
monitoring
shoot
it,
right
having
away.
a meter,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's more the issue, is the actual enforcement, is my
And
understanding.
I think education and publicizing it
Uh-huh.
would help, because then people would be more aware. And so there'll be fewer violators, and the police does need training so they can deal with the actual violators that will remain violators.
Right, so we have talked with the police department about it a little bit, and figured out where we would put it in the code, so we are starting to work on it.
Nice.
How do you feel about the boomboxes? You feel the same way I do, that it's kind of intrusive and obnoxious and.
I do. I don't mind them so much. I mean, I think that the noise ordinance they should have a decibel meter, and I think that they shouldn't be too loud. I frankly, in the summer, don't so much mind them when they cruise the plaza, when they loop the plaza. I don't so much mind that. I mind it more when it's like in the residential areas, and I don't know. But that's just a personal thing. It's been part of the culture here for so long. I'm just used to it, I guess.
Yeah,
But I
how
do think
would you
that sometimes they're way too loud.
How do you feel the tourists feel about it when?
I don't know, you're asking the wrong person, because I've advocated for lowrider taxi cab service for a long
Well, that's
time.
different.
You're just
That would be cool.
asking the wrong person.
And I'm all for
Yeah.
that, or,
No, I think when it's
horse-drawn.
obnoxious, it's obnoxious.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's the funk thing. Maybe, and I don't know how you do that legally. I don't know how you can say your music sucks and other music doesn't. And I don't know
You
how
know
to
that-
make it work, but I understand your concern.
I have all respect for all music and all kinds of music, and people can like whatever
Mm-hmm.
music, but don't expose me to it.
Yeah, when it's
when
obnoxious.
without asking.
When it gets to the point of being obnoxious,
without making
there's
it-
probably some way to curb the obnoxious part, where it rattles your teeth in your windows. It's too much sometimes, and also sometimes it's kind of in your face on purpose from the people that are driving.
On purpose, they open the windows and let it out.
So I don't know can we take that further in any way, or what do you think?
I think staff's already working on it,
Okay,
Cool.
so.
Thank you.
right, then next you're going to be working on the lowrider taxi cab service, okay?
Yeah, I guess we
Find
had a
someone who has
long
some
list.
capital. Find someone who has some capital, and I'll get the lowriders together, and we'll do it.
Okay.
All right.
It'd be a new tourist attraction, huh?
I think it'd be so cool. I can't even tell you.
Just invite some people from Espanol.
I'm thinking of it. All right. Does anyone have anything else that you want to bring up? You've been so quiet, Mr. Vice Chair.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
He's shy.
He's
Like
shy.
We're not talking about any brick and mortar at this point. We're talking, ambiance and so forth.
Right.
Not the,
And let the record show we're going to change the paint color in this room. All right, so item 9, adjournment. Anybody ready to adjourn, or anyone have anything else to say?
I move to adjourn.
a second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous again. This is a record.
We're such a harmonious,
This is a
Governmental
record. It's
body.
5:56 PM on May 14th, 2014, and we're going to close
I
the regular
have a
meeting.
request for staff, if they could ask Mr. Northrup to come and speak during Citizens Forum to just liven the place up.
I do not second that.
Thank you again, David, for coming.
Yes, thank you.
See y'all soon.
We will see you soon. Nice to see you. Thank you, and thank you, Francis and Enrico.